Over the course of the last year and a half, I've followed the developments of a game that has been making major breakthroughs in the fighting game scene. High view counts across several platforms, cult community following, topping Steam sale charts, and honestly some of the cleanest anime graphics I've seen in a fighting game ever. It is here, it is launching, and I am so ready to dive into this video and let people know about Guilty Gear Strive. What's going on, everyone? My name is Rev. I'm your everyday fighting game content creator, and today I will be answering the question, is Guilty Gear Strive worth that very spicy $60 price tag, and what is it offering you in return? We'll be looking into several areas of the game, such as console compatibility, pay models, the actual contents of the game like characters, stories, extra features, etc., the gameplay and the systems within the combat that make the Guilty Gear game, well, Guilty Gear, things that matter in online scenarios like netcode and finding matches, as well as some of my personal thoughts and experiences with the game that I've had over the several beta testing phases. But before I do, I want to mention that I will be covering Guilty Gear Strive extensively here on this channel, so if you're interested in picking it up, be sure to leave a like on this video and consider subscribing for more weekly content. Guilty Gear Strive is a 2D anime fighter that wraps high-octane aggression, ground-based footsies, and freedom of movement all in one simple yet beautiful hand-drawn package, complete with its signature heavy metal and hard rock theming and music. The game is available on Steam, PS4, and PS5 for $60 USD, with intentions to add crossplay between the two PlayStations, but unfortunately not between PC and PlayStation. This could change in the future as the community has been very vocal about its implementation, but until something more concrete comes along, I wouldn't count on it anytime soon. After release, the game will continue to be updated via Season Pass DLC pay model, adding bonus characters, stages, color palettes, and story episodes. Pricing for these passes seemingly is set to $20 to $30, but this is strictly based on the added cost of the deluxe edition. Either way, it is certain that Guilty Gear Strive is going to be updated for years to come, with more DLC passes along the way. Guilty Gear Strive will be sporting a 15-character roster on launch, bringing back classic characters from the original games like Soul Bad Guy and Kai Kisuke, with updated costumes and visuals for the entire cast, alongside two brand new characters never seen before in Giovanna and Nagoriyuki. As for content, you can expect the usual single-player classics like arcade, versus, mission, and survival modes, as well as a fully animated movie mode. More on that soon. But the game definitely gets more enticing when you consider what's available if you're interested in playing online. I've played a lot of fighting games over the past decade, and I want to be very clear when I say this to my audience. Guilty Gear Strive has some of the best and worst online capabilities I have ever seen in a fighting game. Let me explain, starting with the good. Guilty Gear Strive has seemingly cracked the code for net play. Two major problems that plague the fighting game community, especially in the anime FGC, is low populations after launches and laggy matches. Guilty Gear Strive has accounted for both of these problems with their implementation of their new rollback netcode. Now, I'm on the west coast of North America, and this was all based on my personal experience on the PS4, but I was able to connect to Oceania, Japan, and Southeast Asia servers and get playable matches without a hitch. I cannot stress how huge this is for fighting game players that either don't have friends to play with or locals they can't attend in order to play and improve, and how impossible this would be with any other fighting game on delay-based netcode. Bottom line, Guilty Gear Strive has the best net play experience in match that I've ever experienced in the past decade. But unfortunately, this doesn't come without a cost. It is partially encased in probably the worst social hub I have ever seen in any of Arc System Works' games. Their ranking system is weird. Instead of bronze, silver, gold, etc., the idea is to have you ascend a tower to get to heaven. Each step up is represented by a lobby full of people of similar skill level. This isn't necessarily a bad idea, but once you experience what it's like to be in these lobbies, that's when you start having problems. I can make an entire video on Strive's lobbies and why they're not as good as they could be, but the synopsis is, during beta, there was a ton of desync and connection issues. If you were searching for a particular opponent or a friend, they were hard to locate, and the overall aesthetic and atmosphere of the lobbies were a giant leap backwards from the way the rest of the game looks. So if you want to play ranked matches, you need to play in these large lobbies. However, it is worth noting that you can join online matches from training mode, or even from the main menu if you so choose. The lesser evil here is definitely the lobby system. AWS can fix the lobbies after launch if they want, but after the launch of the game, it would be difficult to fix the netcode entirely. As I mentioned before, they nailed it. And for me, this is what makes Guilty Gear Strive stand out amongst the rest of the fighting games on the market right now. It's not only the adoption of rollback netcode, but the willingness to drop their old delay-based netcode, their comfort zone per se, for the needs of the consumer. The FGC has been preaching the gospel of rollback netcode for a very long time, but the problem was exponentially worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. Being the first major Japanese game dev to lead by example and adapt to the needs of their consumer speaks volumes to me. It's nice to know that a product I care about, the people making it also care about me and show that through their hard work. While that's the meat and potatoes and a slight tangent of the online experience, Guilty Gear Strive does also have staple features like Replay Theater for checking previous online matches, a robust training mode complete with the necessities like dummy recording, as well as player match functions that serves as a small private lobby for up to 9 people. All really great features for a modern day fighting game and players looking to take the game seriously and improve. We've talked a bit about the primary features of the game, so now I want to talk about the combat systems that make a Guilty Gear game the game it is. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, Guilty Gear Strive is an aggressive fighting game. This is nailed home through 2 key systems, the tension gauge and the risk gauge. The tension gauge is like your special meter. Anything you do that would be considered aggressive rewards tension, whether it's throwing out a special move or just running towards your opponent. Spending tension is how you use your overdrives, which are really powerful special moves, Roman cancels, which is like an activated slow motion mechanic that can be used offensively to extend combos, or defensively to cancel out of unsafe moves or exploit an opponent's opening when they use unsafe buttons. Side note, Roman cancels can be very complex, and it's what adds a lot of spice to the game. Mind games, flashy combos, this particular feature adds a lot of depth and it's very fun to use as you progress as a player. Tension is also used in Guilty Gear's defensive options. While you can use Roman cancel defensively, you can also use a mechanic called faultless defense, which stops your opponent's ability to deal chip damage to you, and also pushes them farther back when they attack you. This prevents losses via chip out or taking unwanted risk buildup from high pressure situations. The risk gauge is a tiny gauge underneath your life bar that is directly tied to damage scaling. You build risk as you block attacks, and it will diminish slowly over time if you get hit. This means being the aggressor, even if you don't open up your opponent immediately, can lead to high damage situations later in the match if it's not managed through attacking your opponent or faultless defense. There are other mechanics present in Guilty Gear Strive, like bursting and perfect guard, but these are the core mechanics that I think are worth mentioning in a video like this. Arc System Works' goal with Strive's gameplay was to make it so it's more accessible for new players to dive in and play Guilty Gear. Time will tell if this goal was actually achieved, but I do believe that they have a groundwork for a less complicated game that has enough depth to maintain people's attention should they seek it. Lastly, as a new addition to the Guilty Gear franchise, they added a wall and wall splat mechanic to prevent getting bullied in the corner, giving additional opportunities to play the neutral game. This added mechanic is controversial amongst the community, given the game's high damage nature. It is hard to say if it's truly accomplishing what it's setting out to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if this feature was adjusted over time. Moving on to the last, but probably one of the coolest part of Strive's features is the theater mode, which is more or less a fully animated movie of Strive's story, complete with timelines, calendars, and character webs to follow along with the story in its entirety. I left this part for last because I felt like while it's available in the game, it probably shouldn't be the sole reason to pay for the game. While it kind of sucks, the internet is the internet, and you'll probably be able to find the movie mode somewhere out there and save your money. However, it is great that it is added for someone that is just discovering the universe of Guilty Gear for the first time and is invested in learning about its story. I won't lie, it's some Kingdom Hearts level of confusing stuff going on there. I don't know much about it. Anyway, if you couldn't tell from the tone of this video, I think very highly of this game. I honestly believe that if you are or ever have been a fighting game fan, everyone should give it a try. but I do also want to give a fair evaluation so people know what they're getting into. So here's the pros and cons. Guilty Gear Strive's netcode is top-notch. Online play, whilst in a match, is crisp and rarely laggy, and allows to reach opponents further than most fighting games on the market without lag. Long-term development means more mileage for your dollar. Long-term players of the game will have content for years to come. The game looks great regardless of game mode. The hand-drawn anime aesthetics are some of the best in the business. The game is easy to get into with relative depth to keep interest via its many combat mechanics. And lastly, it has a highly receptive development team. Arc System Works releases surveys, blogs, and has historically listened to the community feedback about the changes to Strive. For cons, Strive is an expensive asking price. Fighting games are a niche genre and not for everyone. Particular players may find more enjoyment in another series for the money. Secondly, the lobby system is a major headache. Without proper ranked lobbies, playing a competitive game mode like this becomes rather frustrating and tiresome. Also, given the simplicity of the game, it's hard to see where it's going to be long term. Arc System Works' goal of making the game more accessible to new players has definitely changed the way Guilty Gear is played. Long-standing veterans of the game may not find it as enjoyable as other titles within the franchise. If you made it this far in the video, I want to thank you very much for watching. That about wraps up this video, but I want to know what you think. Will you be getting Guilty Gear Strive, or are you perhaps waiting for it to go on sale? What compelled you to pick up the game to begin with? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave it a like, and subscribe to the channel for more fighting game content. Thank you guys so much for watching again, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace out.